The debt collector in ancient Babylon. Debt was a death sentence if you couldn't repay. You became property, your children became slaves, your wife was sold. Your life ended even if you kept breathing. This was legal. This was normal. This was civilization until one debt collector decided the system he profited from was destroying the society it claimed to protect. This is the story of a man who enforced the law until he couldn't stomach it anymore. Changing a broken system required becoming a traitor to his own profession. Meet Ilu-shuma, 39, professional debt collector. For 15 years, he worked for Babylon's wealthiest. When someone failed to repay, Ilu-shuma collected. Through persuasion, legal seizure, or violence if required. He was very good at his job. Efficient, thorough, ruthless. He knew every loophole and enforcement mechanism. The work paid exceptionally well. Ilu-shuma lived comfortably, raised his family. He never questioned the morality. It was legal, necessary. Someone had to enforce contracts. But 15 years of watching debt destroy lives accumulated, like sediment choking an irrigation canal, slowly. The moment that broke him was ordinary. A farmer in Lilbani owed 30 silver shekels. A bad harvest, a sick child requiring expensive medicine, borrowed money that couldn't be repaid. Hammurabi's code was explicit. Unpaid debt meant servitude. The farmer, his wife, his 3 children, all became the merchant's property for 3 years. Standard enforcement. Legal, normal. Ilu-shuma arrived to execute the seizure. The farmer didn't resist. His wife wept. His children, terrified, clung to their mother as Ilu-shuma documented the seizure. The youngest child asked a question, "Will they hurt us?" Ilu-shuma gave the standard answer. Debt servants are property. Property that's damaged loses value. They'll keep you safe. But even as he said it, he knew it was a lie, a comforting lie. The truth was uglier. Debt servants were worked until they broke, fed minimally, housed poorly, protected only enough to preserve their labor value. Many died during their servitude, children especially. That night, Ilu-shuma couldn't sleep, kept seeing the 4-year-old's face, kept hearing the question, "Will they hurt us?" He had facilitated hundreds of seizures, sent thousands into servitude. Never questioned it. It was legal. But legality and morality weren't the same thing. After 15 years of enforcing legal horror, something in him shattered. He began investigating debt patterns in Babylon, used his access to merchant records, analyzed thousands of cases, and discovered something disturbing. Most debt was predatory. Lenders deliberately targeted vulnerable people, offered loans with terms designed to ensure default, interest rates that compounded impossibly, repayment schedules that ignored harvest cycles. The system wasn't helping people survive hardship. It was converting free citizens into enslaved labor, and debt collectors like himself were the enforcement arm of this exploitation. They were the weapon. The realization was devastating. Everything he'd done for 15 years, every family he'd seized, every child he'd condemned to servitude. He had been the instrument of systematic oppression, and he'd been well paid for it. He faced a choice: continue profiting from a system he now recognized as evil, or betray his profession to fight it. There was no middle ground. He chose betrayal. Ilu-shuma began documenting predatory lending, recorded cases where lenders created impossible debt, collected evidence of merchants bribing officials, built a comprehensive case showing systematic exploitation. Then he brought his evidence to Hammurabi's court, not as a debt collector, as an informant, testifying against the wealthy merchants and lenders who had employed him, exposing the predatory practices. The merchants were furious. Ilu-shuma was a traitor. He had violated professional confidentiality, broken the debt collector's code of loyalty, destroyed his own career to attack the system that fed him. They tried to discredit him, claimed he was bitter about lost income, suggested he was mentally unstable, argued that his evidence was fabricated by someone who resented successful merchants. But Ilu-shuma had 15 years of detailed records, clay tablets documenting thousands of collections, showing patterns that couldn't be denied, interest rates that guaranteed default, loan terms that ignored realities, repayment demands timed to coincide with borrowers' seasonal poverty. The evidence was overwhelming, and Ilu-shuma's testimony was devastating because he spoke from expertise. He knew every trick, every loophole, every way the system was exploited. Because he had exploited them himself, Hammurabi ordered a comprehensive investigation, examined lending practices across Babylon, found exactly what Ilu-shuma had documented: systematic, predatory lending, debt designed to create servitude, legal slavery masquerading as contract. Enforcement: the king issued sweeping reforms, interest rate caps, required consideration of borrowers' seasonal income, mandatory review of loan terms, and most radically, debt forgiveness for loans determined to be predatory. Thousands of debt servants were freed, including in Lil Bonnie's family. The children Ilu-shuma had seized returned home. The 4-year-old who had asked, "Will they hurt us?" was released, but Ilu-shuma paid a price for his betrayal. No merchant would employ him. Debt collectors ostracized him. His professional reputation was destroyed. He had become the most hated man in his former profession, the traitor who had undermined the entire debt collection system. He found work as a scribe, basic documentation, a massive pay cut. His family's lifestyle collapsed. His children lost opportunities. His wife endured social isolation. The comfortable life evaporated. But something else happened. The people he had once victimized forgave him. Farmers remembered that he had freed them. Families recalled that he had exposed the system that had enslaved them. The debt servants understood. His testimony had saved them. He wasn't respected by the powerful anymore, but he was honored by the powerless. For the first time in 15 years, he could sleep without seeing the faces of children asking if they would be hurt. Ilu-shuma worked as a scribe for 22 years, never returned to debt collection, never regained his former wealth. But he trained young scribes in contract law, taught them to recognize predatory terms, created a generation of legal professionals who understood that law without justice was simply organized oppression. His children grew up poor compared to their early years, but they knew their father had chosen morality over money, had sacrificed comfort for conscience, had proven that one person could challenge systemic evil. Today, we have Hammurabi's debt reform tablets, archaeological evidence of ancient debt forgiveness, legal protections for borrowers, interest rate regulations, the reforms that changed Mesopotamian lending practices. Those reforms came from one man's willingness to betray his profession, to testify against his former clients, to sacrifice everything he'd built through a system he finally recognized as exploitation. Ilu-shuma understood something that comfortable people rarely admit. Profiting from injustice doesn't make it less unjust. Legal doesn't mean moral. And the hardest fight isn't against strangers. It's against the system that feeds you. He had been the weapon of oppression. He became the architect of reform, not through heroism, through admission, through documentation, through the courage to say, "I enforced this evil for 15 years, and here's exactly how it works." The debt collector who freed the debtors, the enforcer who broke enforcement, the man who discovered that redemption isn't found in defending what you've done. It's found in exposing it. The debt collector, silent Babylon, where ancient civilizations speak.